She left him a ring, a letter, and a sonogram that destroyed his empire in one night. Cole came home before sunrise expecting his wife to be asleep in their penthouse. Instead, he found an empty bed, her wedding ring on his pillow, and 6 words written behind a photo. Our daughter, 24 weeks. I tried, then he read the hospital reports. Maya's heart was failing under the pregnancy. His mother had hidden the truth, and the woman he called weak had been fighting for 2 lives alone. For the first time, Boston's most dangerous man realized he had not been betrayed. He had been abandoned by the woman he failed to protect. Case file 010. Subject: Cole Harrington. The man who owned half of Boston's underworld thought obedience was the same as love. Then, with one cruel sentence, he called his pregnant wife Maya weak. By morning, her wedding ring was on his pillow, cold and final. For years, Cole believed everyone around him would stay because he had power, money, and fear. What he never saw was his wife quietly disappearing in front of him. Maya was hiding medical records, a dangerous pregnancy, and one secret that would tear open everything he thought he controlled. To the public, Cole Harrington was a polished name attached to charity events, shipping companies, and old Boston influence. That image was useful. Behind it, he decided who rose, who vanished, and who paid for disobedience. He did not need to shout to make people afraid. His silence did that for him. His black suits, expensive watches, and perfect posture were not just style, they were armor. Cole believed control kept him safe. What he did not understand was that the same armor keeping danger out was also keeping love from reaching him. Cole ruled rooms with a pause, a glance, a quiet command spoken so softly people leaned in to hear it. But inside his own home, that same control turned cold. He replaced affection with money, apology with jewelry, and presents with gifts delivered by assistants. Maya lived in a penthouse above the city, surrounded by glass, marble, and silence. From the outside, it looked like a dream. Inside, it felt like a cage. She had comfort, but not warmth. She had protection, but no tenderness. And every night, the distance between them grew a little harder to cross. Maya had learned how to survive inside that marriage. She smiled at Gallus, lowered her voice around Evelyn, and told herself Cole was only distant because of work, danger, and responsibility. Evelyn Harrington made that easier to believe. Cole's mother treated sacrifice as the price of belonging to the family. Maya became the loyal wife everyone expected, even as her own needs were pushed further out of sight. She excused the neglect for so long that it began to feel normal. That is how a beautiful prison works. It does not lock the door at first. It teaches you not to reach for the handle. At night, Maya lay awake listening for Cole's footsteps. She hated herself for hoping, but she still did. Sometimes he would pause at the bedroom door, and her heart would lift before he turned away again. She remembered the man who once let her see a softer side of him. The man who had touched her cheek like she mattered. But that man now appeared only in fragments. The Cole who came home smelled of smoke, rain, and danger. He stood beside her bed like a stranger wearing her husband's face. Memories are cruel when the person beside you has already changed. The distance between them did not arrive in one dramatic night. It grew quietly, in missed dinners, unanswered calls, and conversations that died before they began. Cole could look at their bed and still not understand why it felt empty. By the 6th month of her pregnancy, Maya's body began paying for what her heart had endured. In the bathroom, under harsh white light, she stared at a medical report warning of cardiac strain. The paper trembled in her hands. She wanted to tell Cole. She needed to tell him. In that house, even needing something from him felt dangerous. The doctors had been clear. Maya's heart was under serious pressure, and stress could make everything worse. When she thought of telling Cole, fear closed around her throat. That night, she prepared dinner herself, hoping something ordinary might reach him. Cole came home at 9:20 p.m., tired, sharp-eyed, carrying the weight of another violent day. For 1 second, guilt crossed his face when he saw the table. Then his phone rang. The warmth vanished. He stepped away before she could speak. Maya watched him choose the call, and the untouched dinner between them turned cold. When Maya asked for 10 minutes, Cole looked toward the balcony instead of at her. She almost showed him the medical file then, almost said the words that had been trapped inside her for weeks. But one of his men stood nearby, silent and watchful, and suddenly even her pregnancy felt like something she had to defend in public. Before she could try again, Evelyn entered without knocking. She moved through their home as if every room belonged to her. Maya folded the papers against her body. Some marriages are destroyed by strangers. Hers was being slowly invaded by family. Evelyn smiled at Maya's loose dress and asked whether pregnancy had made her careless or simply lazy. The insult was soft enough to sound elegant. Cole heard it. He said nothing. He stared at his phone, and that silence hurt more than Evelyn's words. Maya tried to set a boundary, but Evelyn dismissed it as drama. Later, when the house finally quieted, Maya placed the sonogram on Cole's desk. 22 weeks. A tiny shape in black and white. A daughter he did not yet know. She left it where he could not miss it, and waited for him to come find her. Cole did not come back that night. By morning, the sonogram was gone. Maya found Evelyn seated in the parlor with tea, calm as if she had been expecting the question. When Maya asked where the picture was, Evelyn did not pretend innocence. She told Maya that nothing in that house belonged only to her. Not the rooms, not the marriage, not even the decisions about the child she carried. Maya stood there with one hand pressed to her stomach, and finally understood what she had been refusing to name. She was not protected in that house. She was contained. Inside her car, Maya's mask broke. She sat behind the wheel in the underground garage, shaking so hard she could barely breathe. Then she drove to the hospital clinic, where the lights were too bright and the air smelled of disinfectant. Dr. Leena Patel examined her, read the results, and grew quiet in a way that frightened her more than any warning. Maya's heart was struggling. The stress was no longer just emotional. It had become physical danger. "Give me the phone, Sophia." She listened to the doctor speak and realized she had been waiting for Cole to save her from a life that was helping destroy her. That evening, Maya waited in Cole's study with the medical prognosis folded in her lap. The room was all dark wood, leather, and old money. A room built for men who never expected to be questioned. When Cole came in, she stood before fear could stop her. She asked for one real moment. No guards, no phone, no Evelyn. His phone rang before she could finish. He glanced at the screen, and Maya saw the decision in his face before he made it. Their marriage did not die from one fight. It died in moments like that, when he kept walking away and expected her to still be there. The fracture widened when Cole finally looked at her and said she was a guest in his fortress. Not a partner, not his equal, a guest. The words landed with the cold precision of a blade. Maya did not scream. She placed the medical records on his desk and walked out before he could see how badly she was shaking. 2 days later, the Harrington Gala filled the ballroom with lights, music, and applause. To everyone else, Cole and Maya were the perfect, powerful couple. But behind Maya's polished smile, something had already cracked beyond repair. Under the ballroom lights, Maya wore a silver gown Evelyn had chosen. It fit beautifully, but it felt like another set of restraints. Across the room, Cole moved through donors and politicians with practiced charm, shaking hands, laughing softly, performing warmth for people who would never see him at home. Maya watched him and felt a strange sadness settle over her. She had not married the man standing there. She had married the man she once believed he could be. That illusion had carried her for years. Tonight, beneath all that glitter, it finally began to die. Cole had always known how to make people feel chosen. Maya had once lived for that look from him. Now he gave it to strangers across a ballroom, while she stood dizzy beside a marble column, one hand hidden against her stomach. Evelyn appeared at her side and told her to compose herself before anyone noticed. Pain in Evelyn's world was something women swallowed for the family name. Then the senator raised a glass to the next generation, and Maya felt the baby move beneath the gown. For the first time, she wondered what kind of family she was about to bring her daughter into. Cole smiled for the room, like a man trained from birth to hide every human thing. Maya searched his eyes, hoping for even one sign that he saw her. Evelyn gave him a look, and he followed the script. In front of everyone, he laughed softly and said Maya was too soft-hearted for conflict, too delicate for the uglier parts of his world. The room accepted it as charm. Maya heard the insult underneath, and made the crowd smile while he did it. Something inside her went still. Evelyn looked pleased. Maya did not cry. That surprised even her. Her panic drained away and left behind a clean, cold calm. She set her glass on a passing tray and walked out of the ballroom. In the corridor, she heard Cole's voice behind her, low and uncertain, asking whether he had gone too far. Evelyn answered before his guilt could grow. She said women like Maya used weakness like a weapon. Maya stood unseen around the corner, listening. Cole did not defend her. He did not even argue. That silence made the decision for her. Into a bathroom stall and locked the door. Only then did her body fold. She pressed both hands around her stomach and whispered to the baby that this would not be her life. After midnight, she returned to the penthouse alone. The rooms were dark and spotless, more museum than home, the image that mattered more to him than the woman carrying his child. Maya moved through the bedroom quietly, not like someone leaving in anger, but like someone who had already said goodbye a long time ago. In the bedroom, she took off the silver gown and let it fall to the floor. Without the diamonds, without the perfect makeup, she looked exhausted but real. Ignored the expensive luggage lined neatly in the closet, and pulled out a plain canvas bag. Into it went medical charts, hidden cash, prenatal vitamins, and a small keepsake from her mother. In a drawer, she found the old ring box from Boston. For a moment, she remembered Cole proposing with a voice that almost trembled. Back then, she had mistaken fear for tenderness. Now she knew the difference. Cole had promised change before. Those promises had always arrived when she was close to walking away. Maya stared at the ring on her finger. It had once meant safety. Now it meant waiting rooms, missed appointments, locked doors, and a life where she had to beg to be heard. She slipped it off and placed it on his pillow. At his desk, she wrote the only truth left between them. His silence had been his answer. She was leaving because the life he offered was not a home. Then she wrote what he had never stayed long enough to hear. They were having a daughter. In the letter, Maya told him what the doctors had said. Her heart was failing under the strain of the pregnancy. She could not survive without serious medical care, calm, and support. While Cole expanded his territory, she had sat alone under fluorescent lights, filling out forms with his name as an emergency contact that felt more symbolic than real. Evelyn knew enough to hide the truth and still chose control. Maya left the sonogram beside the letter, along with the recordings of Evelyn's threats. Then she looked once around the moonlit penthouse and felt nothing but the need to breathe. For one brief second, the old attachment pulled her back. The bed, the city lights, the memory of Cole's hand at the small of her back before he became all distance and command. Then the baby moved, sharp and alive, and Maya's doubt disappeared. She skipped the private elevator and took the service stairs to avoid surveillance. 47 floors. Her heart hammered by the 20th. By the 30th, pain cut across her chest. She gripped the rail and kept going. In the basement, she slipped past a distracted custodian and walked into the Boston rain, choosing danger outside over slow death inside. The rain hit her face like a shock, cold enough to keep her moving. At South Station, she bought a ticket under her maiden name, Maya Brooks. Saying it aloud made her throat tighten. She had almost forgotten how it sounded without Harrington attached to it. On the bus, she sat near the back among ordinary people who did not know her, fear her, or expect her to perform. A student slept with headphones on. A woman worked a crossword puzzle. No one called her Mrs. Harrington. No one watched her hands. For the first time in years, anonymity felt like mercy. As the city lights blurred through the wet window, Maya kept one hand near her stomach, waiting for the baby-S movement. Back in the penthouse, the truth sat on Cole's pillow like a quiet explosion waiting for him. Cole returned just before 4 in the morning, still in his tuxedo, smelling of tobacco, alcohol, and cold air. He stepped out of the elevator, expecting the usual silence. He had no idea that the woman who had once arranged her life around his moods had already stepped beyond his reach. Dawn began to pale the glass walls. Cole entered half-focused on his phone, a small smear of blood on his cuff, from a warning delivered to a disobedient worker. He expected Maya to be asleep, turned away from him in quiet protest. He had grown used to that distance because he never learned how to repair it. But the bed was empty. The air felt wrong. Cole stopped in the doorway, every instinct sharpening. He scanned the room like a crime scene. Before he understood it was his marriage he was looking at. His eyes moved from the open drawer to the silver gown on the floor, then to the pillow. The ring waited there beside an envelope and a sonogram. Cole picked up the image slowly. A 24-week-old child stared back in grainy black and white. On the back, Maya had written, "Our daughter, 24 weeks. I tried." The words struck harder than any threat he had ever received. He sat on the edge of the bed with the ring in his palm, surrounded by all his wealth, and for the first time, the penthouse felt completely empty. Cole's hands had stayed steady through deals, executions, and betrayals. They trembled now. He read Maya's letter once, then again slower, as if the truth might change if he forced himself through it. She wrote about years of loneliness, hospital rooms, Evelyn's interference, and the way Cole's absence had become another wall around her. The empire outside those windows suddenly looked useless. None of it had kept his wife safe. None of it had made her feel loved. The fortress he had built to protect what was his had become the place she had to escape. Memory returned with a cruelty he had never expected. The blue medical folder he ignored. The dinner he left untouched. Maya's face under the study lamp when his phone rang. Evelyn's voice cutting her down while he looked away. Cole saw all of it now, not as scattered moments, but as a pattern he had chosen not to see. The medical warnings on the desk were no longer paperwork. They were proof. Maya's heart had been failing while he counted money, settled territory, and called his neglect duty. Maya's letter passed through every defense he had spent his life building. She wrote about Evelyn teaching him that attachment was weakness, about the way he turned fear into control, and called it protection. She signed only her first name, Maya, not Mrs. Harrington, not his wife, just Maya. Beside the letter, the medical charts documented severe cardiac strain, but the clinical words felt almost obscene. They made her suffering sound neat. Cole knew better now. His home had not been safe. It had been quiet enough for pain to grow, without interruption. He called her. The phone went to voicemail. He called again, as if persistence could undo years of not answering her. Maya's recorded voice filled the room, calm and unreachable. Cole tried to speak, but the words sounded thin even to him. "Sorry. Come home. Let me fix this." Each one arrived too late. His name opened doors across Boston, but it could not make her pick up the phone. For the first time in his life, Cole Harrington faced a silence he could not intimidate, buy, or command into ending. When he played the recording Maya had left, Evelyn S. voice filled the study, smooth and cold, discussing the unborn child as if she were an inconvenience to be managed. Cole stood motionless, as his mother dismantled Maya's dignity line by line. He heard the familiar rhythm in her words, the same lessons she had carved into him since childhood. Do not need. Do not soften. Do not let love make you weak. For years, Cole had mistaken those lessons for strength. Listening now, he heard what they really were. Instructions for becoming empty. Evelyn S. voice pulled something violent to the surface. In Cole's world, a threat was met with force. But this threat came from the woman who had shaped his entire idea of survival. He gripped the edge of the desk until his knuckles whitened. Families can make cruelty sound like protection when the words are repeated long enough. Cole had believed his mother, because the alternative meant facing how much of his life had been built on fear. Now Maya was gone, his daughter was in danger, and the enemy was not across the city. It was inside his bloodline. When Cole looked in the mirror, he did not see the untouchable man Boston feared. He saw the man Maya had run from. His fist hit the glass before he thought, splitting his reflection into jagged pieces. Then he drove to the family estate in Beacon Hill, where wealth sat heavy in every room, and every silence had a history. Evelyn was in black silk, composed and untouched by remorse. Cole placed the sonogram in front of her. For the first time, the room did not bend around her certainty. Evelyn looked at the image and kept her face still. But Cole saw the flicker. Fear, not grief, not shame. Fear of losing control. She said love had killed his father. She said weakness invited death. She reminded him of every lesson he had been raised on. Every warning whispered through childhood like scripture. Cole listened without interrupting. The words once would have steadied him. Now they sounded like bars closing. His mother had not protected him from pain. She had taught him to live in a prison and call it power. Cole said the thing he had never dared say aloud. She had made him afraid to love his wife. Evelyn called it parenting. He called it damage. She accused Maya of betrayal. But Cole did not take the bait. Maya had not betrayed him by leaving. She had survived him. Then he showed Evelyn Maya's journal, page after page of fear, loneliness, and hospital notes written in a hand that grew shakier over time. The room turned unbearably quiet. For once, Cole chose Maya as truth over his mother's version of strength. Evelyn did not cry. She never did. Tears were surrender in her world. When she warned Cole he would regret turning against her, he answered with a calm that made even her pause. He already regretted everything she had touched. Then he made 2 phone calls. Accounts were frozen, trust access revoked, family channels cut off. Evelyn laughed and said he was burning down his house over a fragile girl. Cole looked at the sonogram between them. No, he said. The house was already burning. He was only stopping the fire from reaching his daughter. By 8 in the morning, Cole stood inside his windowless harbor headquarters with Maya S. ring clenched in his fist. His inner circle waited around the table. Grant Walsh, ex-military and loyal in the way only frightened men are loyal, immediately read the danger in Cole S.'s face. Cole opened his hand and showed them the ring. No one spoke. Grant's first suggestion was simple. Seal every exit from the city and drag Maya back before enemies found her. The old Cole might have nodded. This one closed his fist again and said she was not to be touched. Maya was not cargo. She was not leverage. She was not a possession to recover. Cole spread the evidence across the table. Medical charts, bus schedules, a gap in security footage, and a pharmacy receipt that placed her north of the city. She had slipped through his system like water. Cole closed his eyes and imagined her alone in the rain, pregnant, sick, and afraid of him. That thought did what no enemy had ever done. It broke through his pride. Find her, he told Grant, but stay back. If she sees you, you have already failed. When Cole saw the ticket bought under the name Maya Brooks, he understood the message. She was reaching for the woman she had been, before his name swallowed hers. Grant offered trackers, informants, roadblocks. Cole refused anything that would make her feel hunted. Then a second report came in. Vincent Rohr was moving along the north coast, asking about a pregnant woman traveling alone. Cole's jaw tightened. Rohr never attacked empires directly. He attacked what men loved. Grant saw the old violence wake in him. Cole shut it down and said Maya was still not to be approached. For the next 48 hours, Cole barely slept. His city cracked around him, but he kept following the fragile trail Maya had left behind. At the hospital, Dr. Patel gave him the truth without mercy. Maya had been carrying a high-risk pregnancy with severe cardiac strain, and stress could kill her. Cole asked what would stabilize her, already reaching for money. Specialists, aircraft, anything he could command. The Dr. S. answer stopped him. Maya needed safety, autonomy, quiet, the right to decide who came near her. None of those things could be forced into place. The trail moved north in broken pieces. A Portsmouth pharmacy, a rural clinic, a diner receipt in Maine. Each clue made her feel both closer and farther away. Maya was heading toward Haven Point, a coastal town small enough that A man like Cole could not disappear inside it. Grant warned him that Roar's men had been seen near the same coastal roads. Cole knew showing up uninvited could make things worse. He also knew Maya might be too sick to stay hidden safely. By dawn, he left Boston with her ring in his pocket and fear where anger used to be. Grant drove, which Cole rarely allowed. His phone kept vibrating with urgent messages from the empire he had built, but he silenced them one by one. In the elevator's metal reflection before they left, he had seen a man stripped of certainty, no promise of forgiveness. Cole touched Maya's ring through his coat pocket. It felt heavier than any weapon he had carried. Every mile north took him farther from control, and closer to the one thing he had never learned how to ask for, a chance. The farther they drove, the smaller the car felt. Boston's reached thin behind them, replaced by wet roads, bare trees, and the cold edge of the Maine coast. Grant suggested calling ahead, placing eyes on the town, preparing exits in case Roar had already found the route. Cole said no to anything that would turn Maya's refuge into a trap. He had prepared for police raids, rival attacks, and every kind of betrayal. He had not prepared for the possibility that his own home had become the danger she was running from. Haven Point noticed them before they reached the clinic. A black luxury vehicle on narrow streets, two men in expensive coats, a kind of danger the town could smell even if it could not name. This was not Boston. There were no convenient shadows, no bought silence, no rooms full of people eager to please him. Here people looked out windows and remembered faces. Grant grew tense. Cole focused on the small clinic ahead, a modest building with peeling paint and a warm light in the window. If Maya had found shelter here, his power would not impress anyone guarding it. Maya appeared in the clinic doorway. She looked thinner, paler, one arm curved around her stomach. Cole stopped breathing. The wind pushed her hair across her face, and for one painful second she looked exactly like the woman he had once loved before he buried that love under fear. He stepped out of the car before he could stop himself. Maya saw him. Terror crossed her face so quickly it almost looked like pain. Cole froze in the street. There it was, undeniable. The man who had called himself her protector had become the person she feared. A man from the clinic moved between them at once. Dr. Sam Keller stood with his body angled protectively toward Maya and asked whether she knew Cole. Maya struggled to answer before whispering that he was her husband. The word did not soften Keller's face. Cole was used to enemies who could be threatened and officials who could be pressured. This man was neither. His only concern was the frightened woman behind him. Cole told Grant to stay in the car. Then he approached slowly, hands open, every step asking permission he had never bothered to ask before. When Cole said Maya's name, she flinched. It was small, but he saw it. He told her he was not there to force her back. Her answer was quiet and devastating. She said he did not know how not to possess something. The doctor offered to make him leave. Maya hesitated. Cole waited, though waiting felt like punishment in his bones. Finally, she allowed a limited conversation inside. In the consultation room, the space between them felt larger than the desk separating their chairs. Cole had crossed states to find her. He still had no right to come closer. Dr. Keller stayed in the room. Soon Sheriff Rebecca Lane entered as well, already aware of Cole's reputation and the dark car outside. She did not ask about his empire. She asked Maya whether she felt safe. Only after Maya nodded did the sheriff turn to Cole. He realized then that Haven Point had formed a quiet wall around his wife, not because they feared him, because they cared about her. The thought struck him strangely. In Boston, protection always came with ownership. Here, it came with distance consent and people willing to stand in his way. Sheriff Lane made the rules plain. Maya was there by choice. Cole would leave the moment she asked. Cole agreed before pride could interfere. When he reached into his coat, the sheriff's hand moved instantly toward her weapon. He froze and explained he only had medical documents. Slowly, he placed them on the desk. Cardiac records, specialist contacts, treatment options. He offered to fund everything, without asking Maya to return to Boston. It sounded generous, even careful. But Maya looked at the papers and saw the same old danger. Cole still believed resources could fix what absence had broken. He tried to speak in numbers because numbers were safe. Costs, transport, specialists, private monitoring. He could pay without attaching conditions, he said. Maya sat with both arms around her stomach, guarded and pale. Cole admitted. Money was the only language he knew how to use without ruining the sentence. Rain hit the windows hard enough to fill the silence. Dr. Keller reviewed the charts and set aside his dislike because Maya's condition was too serious for pride. But when Cole mentioned an unrestricted trust, Maya shook her head. Their daughter did not need to be bought by the man who had not shown up. Maya made him look at the thing he had avoided. Did he know what it was like to hear the words cardiac failure alone? To fill out emergency forms, while wondering whether the person listed would even answer? Cole wanted to say he understood, but the lie died before it reached his mouth. He admitted he did not. He had not lived it. He had made her live it without him. Dr. Keller explained the medical plan. close monitoring, a high-risk delivery team, and decisions made around Maya's safety. No power over the damage already done. Cole tried again more carefully. Build the plan around what she wants, he said. Maya studied him as if searching for the trap. She knew how easily humility could become another form of control in his hands, so she named the boundaries herself. No guards hovering over her. No secret meetings with doctors. No pressure on the town. No using money to make people obey. Cole agreed to each one. Then she added the boundary that mattered most. Their child was not his legacy project. Not his bloodline trophy, not his property. Cole's face tightened, but he said the words she needed to hear. She is yours first. The sentence cost him. In his world, bloodline meant claim, inheritance, control. Giving up that language felt like stepping off solid ground. Maya did not soften. She told him not to come looking for forgiveness. As if pain could be settled like a debt, Cole said he would carry his guilt himself. When she stood, his first instinct was to reach for her. Her body locked in fear before he moved an inch. He stopped. Dr. Keller offered Maya an arm instead. Cole swallowed the jealousy. Outside, Nora Whitaker waited in a heavy coat, apron underneath, looking at him as if she could smell trouble. Nora's warmth belonged to Maya. When she faced Cole, it vanished. She looked at his tailored suit and polished shoes. Men with shoes like that, she said, bring either flowers or trouble, and I do not see flowers. Cole tried to say he wanted to protect Maya. Nora did not blink. Wanting and doing are cousins, not twins, she told him. Maya's mouth almost curved, and Cole felt foolish hope rise. Nora cut it down with one look. Do not mistake her needing medical help for trusting you. Then she guided Maya away, leaving Cole in the rain with no title that mattered. That afternoon, Cole checked into the Harbor Light Inn. The clerk warned him the only available room had a broken heater. His first instinct was ridiculous and immediate. Buy the building, fix the problem, remove discomfort. Instead, he took the key. The room was cramped, the quilt faded, the radiator loud enough to sound angry. Grant called it an insult. Cole sat on the edge of the bed and let the cold settle in. Boston was cracking behind him. Haven Point did not want him. Maya did not trust him. Nothing to conquer, only something to endure. Back in Boston, his empire began to splinter. Men tested borders. Accounts froze. Old allies hesitated. Cole refused to return. He told Grant to manage the damage, then walked to Nora's diner at 6, pretending hunger was the reason. Inside, conversation thinned the moment he entered. Sheriff Lane sat at the counter, watching. Nora appeared with a coffee pot and stopped him before he could ask about Maya. No, she said. Just one word, flat and final. Cole stood there, a man feared by half a city, being turned away by a woman who had no fear of him at all. I would like dinner, Cole said, trying to sound ordinary. Nora stared at him. This is a diner. Try again. His eyes moved toward the hallway. She stepped into his path. Maya was upstairs resting, she said, and he would not turn her refuge into another room she had to survive. Nora listed the pieces of Maya's flight: a bait shop, a cheap motel, a bus in freezing rain. Each detail hit harder than accusation. I do not need to know what you did, Nora said. I know what a woman looks like when love has made her homeless. Nora put him in a corner booth and brought food without asking what he wanted. It was hospitality, not forgiveness. Cole ate because she told him to. Above him, the ceiling creaked now and then, and every sound made his attention lift. Maya was somewhere upstairs, carrying a child who existed outside his ownership. Then his phone lit up under the table. Grant had sent only 4 words. Roar is asking questions. Cole looked toward the ceiling, turned the phone face down, and stayed seated. Not bring Boston up those stairs. If this is not an emergency. Dr. Keller told him the next morning. Learn patience. Cole almost answered sharply, then stopped. Maya's heart rhythm was unstable. Delivery would be dangerous. Transport might become necessary. At that word, Cole's old reflex returned. His hand moved toward his phone. Already planning aircraft. Routes, security. Maya looked at him. Not angrily. Tiredly. That was worse. Cole froze, lowered the phone, and asked what would actually help. The question came out rough, unfamiliar. Help, he was learning, could not begin until Control stepped aside. Later, Maya whispered one word that changed the room: permission. Only then did Cole step into the hallway and make calls. His voice was calm, precise, and stripped of threat. He arranged emergency medical options, but left final decisions with the doctors and Maya. When he returned, she said he still sounded like his father. Cole did not deny it. That kind of command had once satisfied him. Now it frightened him. When she allowed him to attend the ultrasound, he stood near the wall, careful not to take up space, knowing even his closeness had to be earned. The ultrasound room was dim, the rain tapping softly against the window. Cole stood with his hands at his sides, useless in a way he had never allowed himself to feel. When the image appeared on the monitor, a tiny hand opened and closed. His breath caught. The life on that screen did not belong to his empire, his name, or his control. She was real, he whispered. Maya did not look at him. She was real when you were not there, she said. Cole had no answer. For once, he did not reach for one. When the baby kicked, Maya winced, and Cole saw how stress moved through both mother and child. He tried to apologize. Maya stopped him before the words became another performance. She would not let their daughter inherit the same pattern. Harm, apology, silence, repeat. In the hallway, Dr. Keller gave Cole the bluntest advice anyone had dared offer him. Stop buying solutions and become one less problem. Cole could have taken offense. Instead, he wrote it down in his mind. It was not forgiveness, and that made it harder to ignore. By the harbor, under a low gray sky, Maya told him about the small dreams she used to have. Baby shoes left on his desk, a quiet dinner where she could tell him good news without watching his face for irritation, a husband who smiled before calculating what her happiness might cost him. Cole listened as each ordinary hope exposed a failure more intimate than betrayal. He had thought grand gestures mattered. Maya had wanted small ones, a hand on her back, a chair pulled close at the clinic, a phone call answered. Things so simple he had been too powerful to notice. Cole said he had never resented her. Maya looked at him and described the ways he had made resentment unnecessary. The controlled sigh before she spoke, the tightening of his jaw, the way he turned his body slightly away, as if her feelings were an inconvenience entering the room. Those tiny signals had trained her to shrink. Cole's hands curled into fists, then opened again. He admitted her emotions had threatened him, because they asked for something he could not control. He had called that weakness in her, because he was too afraid to name it in himself. For one brief moment, Maya's face softened, and Cole saw the woman who once believed they could be repaired. Then she pulled back. One honest conversation did not undo years of erosion. Cole did not argue. That restraint surprised them both. Instead of dinner, he understood the difference. It was not an invitation back into her life. It was a boundary with a small opening in it. They sat in separate booths at Nora's diner, cups between them, learning the strange awkwardness of being near each other, without anyone taking more than was given. In the diner, their old roles had nowhere to stand. No gala lights, no cameras, no polished donors waiting to be impressed, only coffee gone bitter and rain sliding down the windows. Later, walking through the damp streets, Cole dismissed the security detail that had followed at a distance. It left him exposed, and exposure felt almost like panic. Outside Maya's inn, he looked up at the warm window and fought the urge to go inside, explain, plead, promise. Instead, he stayed on the street. For once, care meant not crossing the threshold. Cole spent the night on a damp harbor bench, close enough to know the inn was safe, far enough not to become the threat himself. Near midnight, Maya came outside in visible distress. Every old instinct in him surged at once. Move, command, take over. He stood instead. Maya, may I come closer? The words felt clumsy in his mouth. She nodded once. He called emergency services in a measured voice, gave the address, and kept his hands visible. His fear was enormous, but for once he did not make it her burden. As the storm thickened, townspeople appeared as if pulled by one shared instinct. Nora with a blanket, Sheriff Lane with a flashlight, Dr. Keller with a medical bag. They gathered around Maya, not around Cole, and he understood the difference. His money had isolated her in a penthouse. This town, with its chipped paint and narrow streets, had given her something he never had. People who showed up without needing to own her. Cole stood just outside the circle, close enough to help if asked, far enough to prove he was finally listening. In the clinic, the word stable hit Cole harder than expected. He had used it for markets, routes, crews, and assets. Hearing it applied to Maya's fragile body made his chest tighten. Then Dr. Keller told him Maya had asked for Nora instead of him. The rejection struck his pride first, then something deeper. In the past, he would have pushed through the door. This time, he stepped back. It was a small action, almost invisible to anyone else. But for Cole, letting someone choose comfort that was not him felt like surrendering a kingdom. Nora noticed. She had been waiting for the hidden anger, the wounded male pride, the pressure that usually followed men who called control love. It did not come. She left him in the corridor. For nearly an hour, Cole stood there listening to the clinic sounds, footsteps, low voices, the beep of machines. Sheriff Lane told him to sit. He said he was fine, though his body looked carved from fear. The sheriff gave him a long look and said men him, like often confused, standing still with being strong. Cole did not answer. He no longer knew the difference. Maya remained under close care, while Nora stayed beside her, with the steady tenderness Cole had never learned how to offer. Cole kept himself away from both the waiting room and his luxury car, knowing each space carried a different kind of pressure. He sat outside near a public monument, stripped of importance by weather and exhaustion. At midday, a child passing with his mother asked why the scary-looking man seemed so sad. Cole almost laughed. The question was the cleanest thing anyone had said about him in years. At 2, Dr. Keller gave him a small task. The task was ginger tea. At the pharmacy, the clerk saw Cole's clothes and pointed quickly to the shelf, as if dealing with a dangerous animal. Cole bought every box in stock before he realized what he had done. His old habit had taken over again. If one helped, 12 must help more. In the car, he stared at the ridiculous pile and put 11 boxes away. When he returned with only one, Maya noticed anyway. The corner of her mouth lifted. "You bought all of them," she said. Cole admitted it. Her laugh was small, tired, and real. It nearly undid him. Maya kept correcting him in ways that cut through his pride without cruelty. Could he tolerate the humiliation of changing? Could he be awkward without turning it into anger? Cole said he could try. Over the following weeks, he did small, ordinary things around Haven Point instead of hiding behind money. He helped repair a clinic step. He carried supplies. He took instructions from people who did not fear him. Earl, an old fisherman with a bad knee and no patience for rich men, made him redo a simple latch 3 times. Cole did it. No threats. No shorts. The town offered a kind of kindness that made Cole uncomfortable. Tessa left soup without comment. Calvin teased him without checking whether it was safe. Nora watched everything. Cole stopped checking his phone every few minutes. He stopped trying to turn help into a transaction. Once when Maya entered the diner, he began to stand. She stiffened, reading the gesture as performance. He caught it, froze halfway, and sat back down. It was awkward and someone coughed to hide a laugh. Maya looked away, but not before he saw the smallest sign that she had noticed. Then Boston called beneath a bleak sky. Grant reported a hostile takeover of Northside assets, a deliberate insult meant to wake the old Cole. In the same breath, he confirmed Rohr had sent men toward the coast. In the past, Cole would have answered with force before Grant finished speaking. This time, he told him to keep the fight away from Haven Point. Grant warned that people were calling Maya his weakness. Rage flared so fast Cole nearly welcomed it. Then he saw Maya through the diner window, one hand resting on her stomach, and chose the town's safety over his pride. In the world Cole came from, restraint looked like blood in the water. Grant warned that Evelyn was gathering the family's old guard and that rivals were circling. They said Cole had abandoned his domain for a woman who no longer wanted him. The words found the old wound in him, but they did not decide his next move. Looking at Maya, Cole finally understood her flight as survival, not betrayal. No one from Boston was to come near Haven Point without his permission. His past was hungry. He could feel it reaching for the future. The test came sooner than expected. Evelyn arrived in Haven Point wearing pearls, black gloves, and the expression of a woman offended by ordinary streets. Cole met her outside, away from the clinic, away from Maya's protected space. Evelyn looked him over and sneered at his rough coat, his tired face, the town that had made him soft. She expected shame to pull him back into shape. It did not. Cole stood between his mother and the life Maya was trying to rebuild. Evelyn warned that vulnerability would ruin him. Cole realized she still could not tell the difference between tenderness and defeat. Evelyn studied the wet streets with disgust and used Boston like a weapon in every sentence. Enemies were moving. Men were doubting him. Blood demanded loyalty. When Cole stepped toward her, she expected the violent son she had trained. He stopped himself and stepped back. The movement was small, but it unsettled her more than rage would have. He refused the old rhythm. No explosion, no threat, no son becoming his mother's proof. Evelyn's mask cracked and anger showed underneath. Cole understood then that her power needed his fear in order to survive. Cole kept Evelyn from seeing Maya until Maya chose it. That choice mattered. Evelyn had spent years treating access as a right, and now a whole town quietly denied her that right. The next morning in Nora's diner, Sheriff Lane, Dr. Keller, Nora, and half a dozen locals occupied tables with too much casual precision, a protective circle disguised as breakfast. Maya entered slowly. Evelyn turned, ready to cut. Cole moved on instinct, but Maya's voice stopped him. "Sit down," she said. He sat. The room shifted. This time Maya would speak for herself. Maya's invitation was dry, controlled, and full of warning. Evelyn tried to begin with appearances, commenting on Maya's conditions as if pregnancy and illness were failures of presentation. Maya did not take the bait. When Evelyn predicted Cole's ruin, Cole's jaw tightened, but Maya held him still with one glance. Then Maya named the truth Evelyn had worked so hard to hide. Her secrecy had never been protection. It had been control. She had turned a pregnant woman's medical crisis into a family strategy. The diner went quiet enough for the coffee machine to sound loud. Maya did not speak like a victim begging to be believed. She spoke like someone reclaiming the room inch by inch. She admitted she had loved Cole's darkness once because she mistook it for safety. That confession stripped Evelyn of her favorite weapon. When Evelyn tried to use her grief, Maya met it with unexpected calm. Then she said the sentence that landed hardest. Evelyn had not raised a son so much as prepared a successor for a grave. She had taught Cole that love was fatal and control was survival. No one moved. Even Cole looked wounded by the accuracy of it. Evelyn called it sentiment, but the room no longer belonged to her. She warned that if the empire collapsed, enemies would come. Cole answered without raising his voice. Fear had held his family together for years, and look what it had produced. A wife in hiding, a daughter at risk, and a son who had mistaken emptiness for strength. Evelyn accused him of betraying blood. Cole looked at Maya's stomach, then back at his mother. Blood was exactly why he was ending it. His daughter would not inherit the worst parts of him, as if they were a family heirloom. Peace did not come cleanly after that. Before dawn one morning, Maya went downstairs to the diner and found a silver rattle on the counter, wrapped in black ribbon. No note, no demand, just an object meant for a child who had not yet been born. Her body reacted before her mind could catch up, breath short, hands cold, the past reaching into the one place that had felt safe. When Cole arrived, danger seemed to enter with him, even though he had not caused the gift. Maya recoiled anyway. He saw it and stopped. Sheriff Lane brought order to the room. Cole recognized the rattle at once. Vincent Rohr. The man never struck where armor was thick. He found the softest place and pressed until something broke. Cole's old training snapped awake. Every route, every window, every possible shooter's line flashed through his mind. Then he saw Nora's hand steady on Maya's back, grounding her. He forced himself to stop. Instead of ordering guards into every corner, he looked at Maya and asked what she would allow. The question cost him speed. It bought her breath. The plan they built was tighter because Maya was part of it. No armed men in her room. No shadowing her without consent. No turning Haven Point into Boston by another name. Grant hated it. He wanted a clean perimeter, hard surveillance, and men positioned where no one could miss them. Cole refused. He could protect against Rohr without trapping Maya inside another version of his control, and fragile under pressure. Looking at his own hands, he understood why Maya had feared them. They had always reached first and asked later. By afternoon, Haven Point had formed its own defense. Fishermen watched the road. The pharmacist noticed strangers. Sheriff Lane placed patrols where they looked casual but were not. None of it had been purchased. That evening, Cole and Maya sat on the porch swing, with a careful space between them. Maya said she expected him to kill the problem the way he always had. Cole looked down at his hands. He did not lie. The thought had been there. It still was. But naming it out loud made it smaller than obeying it would have. Maya knew what Cole was capable of. That knowledge lived in her body, even when he sat quietly beside her. Cole did not offer soft lies. He told her the violent impulses had not vanished, only that he was learning not to follow them. Maya's hand moved over her stomach. Their daughter could not grow up believing violence and protection were the same thing. Still, part of Maya wanted his nearness when fear rose. Trauma had tangled danger and safety together until even comfort hurt. Cole accepted her anger without trying to turn it into forgiveness. Maya named what his love had become. Not bruises, not the kind of abuse people point to easily. Something quieter. His anxiety became rules. His guilt became work for her to manage. His affection became a room with no exit. She could not survive as territory he had conquered and decorated. Cole asked, almost desperately, how to change. Maya's answer was firm. She would not mother her partner while preparing to mother her child. Cole nodded. Then he told her he had hired a therapist. The admission was clumsy, almost absurd coming from him. And for once he looked embarrassed instead of powerful. The idea of Cole Harrington in therapy made Maya laugh before she could stop herself. It was brief, but real. The next breakthrough was even smaller. Cole began to give an order, caught Maya's expression, and corrected himself mid-sentence. It was awkward, painfully so, but it mattered because he did it without being praised. The following morning, he stood in a decaying harbor warehouse outside Boston, dismantling pieces of his criminal network. Evelyn had been excluded. She came anyway, appearing in the doorway, like the shadow of everything he was trying to leave behind. Evelyn watched as narcotic routes were shut down and weapon vaults emptied. Men who had once feared Cole now looked at him as if he had lost his mind. To them, it was financial suicide. To Evelyn, it was weakness dressed as penance. Cole kept signing orders. He was not naive. Power vacuums were dangerous. Old enemies would move. Rohr would not be the last man to test the wound, but his reason was simple enough, that no one in that room could understand it. He was trying to make the world around his daughter cleaner than the one that had made him. Evelyn said his child would inherit ashes. Cole did not look up from the documents. Then she will inherit clean ashes, he said, and we will build from there. The sentence rippled through the room. His associates had expected rage, maybe strategy. Not this. Cole was not becoming gentle in some polished, harmless way. He was choosing where his violence ended. That choice scared people who had profited from it. The Empire had always called itself family. Now one real family had made its false one look hollow. Evelyn turned to Grant and warned him not to follow Cole into ruin. Grant's face remained unreadable, but his answer was steady. He would follow the man who knew what he was saving, not the one still worshipping a corpse of power. Evelyn's composure cracked. For a moment she looked less like a matriarch and more like a mother, losing the only weapon she had left. She warned Cole that Maya would run once she saw the full darkness of his world. Cole stepped into the storm and answered, without turning back. She already did. As the storm worsened in Haven Point, Maya's body began to fail under the strain. Dr. Keller's warning changed the air in the diner. Cole had been trying to help, trying to behave, trying to rewrite old patterns one careful choice at a time. None of that mattered when Maya gripped the counter and her breathing broke. The room moved around her at once. Nora called for towels. Sheriff Lane cleared space. Cole stood frozen for one terrible second, watching pain take over Maya's face. And the words came from Dr. Keller, sharp enough to cut through everything. Premature labor. Cole's first instinct was to command the room into order. He felt it rise in him, old and familiar. Take charge. Make them move faster. Turn fear into authority. Instead, he dropped to his knees beside Maya because she had reached for him. Her hand was freezing. She asked him not to lie, not to tell her everything would be fine just because he needed to believe it. Cole swallowed every grand promise he wanted to make. I am here, he said. I am scared too. Maya's grip tightened. It was not enough, but it was the first honest thing. Maya's pain came in waves. Between them she looked at Cole, with a clarity that frightened him. Do not become him again, she whispered. Do not become Boston. He knew exactly what she meant. The tyrant. The man who made fear feel like shelter. Outside, thunder rolled over the harbor, and somewhere beyond the rain, Roar's threat still waited. Cole promised only what he could control. His hands, his voice, his choices in the next minute. No empire language. No polished forever vows. Just the present tense work of not making his panic larger than her pain. When the authorities arrived, the crisis became brutally practical. Maya's contractions were close. Her blood pressure was dangerous. She needed a higher-level medical team fast. Cole used his resources then, but differently. Not push the doctors aside. He asked what they needed, then removed obstacles. A private medical helicopter became possible, because he could make calls no one else in that town could make. This time, power did not enter the room to dominate it. It entered like a tool placed in the hands of people who actually knew how to save her. The evacuation was chaos sharpened by rain. Cole coordinated transport, but when the pilots refused certain demands because of the weather, he stopped himself from pushing. The final call belonged to them. Maya heard enough to know he was frightened. Do not comfort me with lies, she said through clenched teeth. Cole leaned close, careful not to crowd her. I do not know if this will be all right, he said, but I am not leaving. The honesty hurt. Somehow it steadied her more than any perfect reassurance would have. The stretcher rolled toward the ambulance through sheets of rain. Not take Maya's hand until she reached first. Around them, the town formed a living barrier against the storm and whatever threat Roar had sent. Then headlights appeared at the far end of the road. Too slow, too deliberate. Sheriff Lane raised her radio. Grant moved like a shadow, blocking Cole's path before he could run toward it. Cole's hand stayed open under Maya's fingers, not gripping, not claiming, just there. The 6-minute ride to the evacuation field felt endless. Floodwater slapped against the ambulance tires. Behind them, Sheriff Lane's cruiser peeled off toward the strange headlights, drawing the threat away. Red light flashed across Maya's face as Dr. Keller tracked every dangerous change in her body. Half-conscious, Maya pulled Cole closer and demanded a promise. Their daughter would not be raised inside the Harrington Syndicate. No blood money in her nursery. No lessons that fear meant respect. Cole answered without hesitation. But Maya tightened her grip. Not words, she said, proof. On the field, the helicopter blades tore the rain sideways. A medic blocked Cole from boarding, saying there was no room. For a second, Cole's body reacted before his mind did. Muscles tight, jaw locked, the old violence rising like instinct. A distant burst of sirens cut through the storm, and Cole knew Roar's men had been stopped somewhere behind them. Maya saw the battle on his face. She gave one small shake of her head. That was all. Cole stepped back. The heart of the phone, Sophia. The hardest thing he did that night was letting strangers take the woman he loved because they were the ones who could help her. Maya's hand slipped from his as they lifted her into the helicopter. Then, at the last second, she reached for him again. Cole caught her fingers lightly. I love you, he said. There was no demand in it this time. No hidden request for forgiveness. Just truth, late and trembling. Then she was gone into the noise. The drive to the hospital took 2 hours. Sheriff Lane joined them after the roadblock. Rainwater on her sleeves and blood on one knuckle. that she refused to explain. Cole sat beside her with his hands shaking in his lap. At 9:42 p.m., Maya was taken into surgery. Updates came in fragments, each one colder than the last. 9:57 p.m., cardiac team called. 10:11 p.m., emergency cesarean begun. Fetal distress, instability, controlled bleeding. Words that sounded clean enough to hide terror. Need for control tearing at him. He wanted doors opened, answers forced, outcomes guaranteed. Nora touched his arm before he moved. Not gently exactly, firmly, enough to anchor him. He stayed where he had been told to stay, and learned how long a minute could become. Grant arrived near midnight, with news from Boston and the road. The syndicate had been contained. Evelyn S.'s remaining network had been neutralized. 2 of Roar's men were in custody. But Roar himself had vanished after leaving one final message, debt's weight. Cole felt nothing. The empire that had once fed him had become background noise beside one operating room door. Grant said Maya was strong. Cole's face twisted. She should never have had to be that strong. At 12:36 a.m., Dr. Reeves emerged. Her expression told the truth before her words did. The baby had survived. Maya's condition was critical. Maya's cardiovascular system had collapsed twice. Dr. Reeves spoke carefully, but Cole heard the danger under every sentence. He asked to see Maya. Not yet, he asked to see the baby. This, the doctor allowed. In the neonatal ward, the world shrank to glass wires and a tiny body fighting under soft lights. Impossibly small, her fists curled as if already refusing defeat. Cole pressed his hand to the glass and could not breathe. No territory had ever mattered like this. No victory had ever looked so fragile. The ring in his pocket felt like a broken promise given weight. The nurse asked whether the baby had a name. Cole looked at his daughter and shook his head. Maya would name her. He would not take that too. Inside the intensive care unit, the sight of Maya broke through whatever armor remained. She lay pale beneath tubes and monitors, her hand bruised, her face almost colorless. Cole sat beside the bed but did not touch her. His hand hovered near hers, waiting for a permission she could not yet give. I saw her, he whispered. She has your fight. I told them you would name her. I did not take that from you. I am trying, Maya. Machines answered him. For the first time since his father's funeral, Cole found himself bargaining with whatever might be listening. Take the money, the empire, the name, anything. Just let her wake. 2 days later, Maya did. She opened her eyes to find him asleep in a chair, folded by exhaustion, a cold coffee on the table and her chart on his lap. He was close but not touching her. Maya's breathing was thin, each inhale a struggle. When she tried to speak, only a rasp came out. Cole woke instantly. He did not grab her hand. He leaned forward, shaking. Maya asked whether the baby had survived. Cole nodded, tears standing in his eyes. She is fighting, he whispered. Like you. Maya studied his hollow face, his careful hands, the restraint that still looked unnatural on him. Then she asked why he had not held the baby. Cole looked toward the neonatal ward. I was waiting for you. Maya's eyes filled. That was stupid, she whispered. Probably, he said. Maya could focus again. Her voice was weak but firm. If we try to rebuild, it will not be in Boston. Cole agreed too quickly and she made him stop. Not as a reflex, she said. Think. He did. Then he said it again. Not Boston. No syndicate. No blood money in her nursery. No teaching her that fear is respect. And when men like Roar come to collect on your old life, she said, you do not bring that war home. Cole accepted it. Maya still did not trust him, but she wanted to try to believe him. 3 heavy days passed before Maya was wheeled into the neonatal unit. Cole walked behind her, careful not to crowd her. He did not touch the chair until she nodded. He moved as if the handles were a boundary, not an object. In front of the incubator, Maya saw her daughter for the first time. Tiny, wired, alive, her small chest rose and fell with stubborn defiance. Maya touched the glass. Hope, Elise Harrington, she whispered. Hope, because she wanted her child to inherit something gentler than fear. Elise for Maya's mother, who had once taught her what softness could survive. I promise it like it is work, Cole told her later. Not like a grand confession. Like a schedule, a discipline, a daily choice. 1 year later, Haven Point had grown used to seeing him with Hope strapped to his chest, standing in line at the pharmacy or carrying boxes at the clinic. Change did not arrive cleanly. Maya still woke frightened on stormy nights. Cole still drove to Portland every Thursday for therapy, and came back quieter than when he left. Some days they moved forward. Some days they only managed not to go backward. Both counted. Empire did not vanish without leaving wreckage. Lawsuits, frozen assets, old enemies, and ugly headlines lingered. Roar's final threat never fully disappeared. It became one more reason Cole kept choosing the clean path, even when the old one would have been faster. Far from that noise, a different home slowly took shape. Hope grew fast with Maya's features and Cole's searching eyes. One afternoon at the diner, Cole nearly forced a stubborn espresso machine. Until Maya said some things did not respond well to being conquered. Cole froze, loosened his grip, and listened. At dusk, Cole and Maya walked along the harbor with Hope asleep against his chest. Maya's wedding ring hung from a chain around her neck now. Not a symbol of ownership, not yet a simple promise either. Something still being earned. She asked whether he missed the old power. Cole looked at their daughter, then at the water darkening under the evening sky. He said he missed the years he had wasted before learning what safety felt like. Maya reached for his hand. Cole held it lightly, claiming nothing. Behind them, the town lights came on one by one, and for the first time, love did not feel like a cage. It felt like a choice. Every Mafia boss story is not only about power, money, revenge, or fear. Beneath the violence and darkness, there is often a painful human lesson about choices, consequences, loyalty, family, and the price of ambition. This story reminds us that no matter how powerful a person becomes, no one can escape the truth forever. Hundreds of people, and make others tremble at the sound of his name. But if his heart is empty, his victory is never complete. The Mafia boss in this story represents a man who built his life on control. He believed that fear was stronger than love, that silence was safer than honesty, and that power could protect him from pain. For years, he may have won every battle in the streets, in business, and among his enemies. But the most important battle was never outside him. It was inside his own heart. That is where he truly lost himself. One of the most meaningful lessons from this story is that power without morality becomes a prison. Many people dream of becoming rich, respected, or feared. They think success means having control over others. But real success is not measured by how many people obey you. It is measured by how many lives you protect, how much peace you create, and how much good remains after you are gone. The Mafia boss had money, influence, and protection, but he did not have peace. His life shows us that a person can be surrounded by luxury and still feel completely alone. Another important lesson is that loyalty is valuable, but blind loyalty can destroy lives. In the world of crime, loyalty is often treated like the highest law. People are expected to follow orders without question. Never mean giving up your conscience. A loyal person does not simply protect someone's secrets. A loyal person also has the courage to stop someone from destroying themselves. This story teaches us that loyalty without honesty is dangerous. Real loyalty should be connected to truth, respect, and moral responsibility. The story also shows the heavy cost of revenge. Revenge often feels powerful in the beginning. It gives a person the illusion that pain can be answered with pain, but revenge rarely heals anything. Instead, it creates a chain of suffering that keeps growing. One act of revenge leads to another. One betrayal leads to another. In the end, everyone loses something. The Mafia boss may have believed that revenge would restore his honor, but what it truly did was steal his humanity piece by piece. This is a powerful reminder that forgiveness is not weakness. Sometimes, forgiveness is the strongest decision a person can make because it breaks the cycle of hatred. Family is another central lesson in this kind of story. Many Mafia bosses claim they do everything for family. They say they commit crimes to protect the people they love. But protection without honesty can become another form of harm. A family does not only need money or security. A family needs trust, emotional safety, and love that is not poisoned by fear. If a father, husband, brother, or son becomes powerful but loses the ability to show tenderness, then his family may live in a beautiful house, but still feel trapped inside it. This story reminds us that children and loved ones often pay the price for the choices of powerful men. The Mafia boss may think his decisions only affect his enemies, but every secret, every violent act, and every betrayal leaves a shadow over the innocent people around him. That is why one of the strongest educational messages is this: before making a decision, we must ask ourselves who will suffer because of it. A selfish choice may bring temporary success, but it can create long-term pain for the people we love most. Another meaningful point is the danger of pride. Pride can make a person refuse to apologize, refuse to change, and refuse to admit they are wrong. The Mafia boss may have spent years believing that saying sorry would make him look weak, but in reality, the ability to apologize is a sign of strength. It takes courage to face the damage we have caused. It takes maturity to admit that we hurt someone, and it takes true character to change before it is too late. The story also teaches that redemption is possible, but it always requires sacrifice. A person cannot simply say they have changed. They must prove it through action. Redemption means accepting responsibility, protecting the innocent, telling the truth, and sometimes losing everything that was built on lies. For a Mafia boss, redemption may mean walking away from power, exposing corruption, saving someone he once endangered, or choosing love over control. The path to redemption is painful, because it forces a person to confront the worst parts of themselves. But it is also the only path that can lead to peace. From a human perspective, this story is powerful because it shows that even the hardest heart can still feel pain. Behind the cold eyes of a Mafia boss, there may be regret, loneliness, childhood wounds, or a deep fear of being betrayed. This does not excuse his actions, but it helps us understand that broken people often break others, when they never learn how to heal. The educational value here is important. Pain should not become an excuse to hurt people. Instead, pain should become a reason to grow, to seek wisdom, and to choose a better path. For viewers, the lesson is not to admire the criminal lifestyle, but to understand its emptiness. The suits, cars, mansions, and power may look attractive from the outside, but behind them there is often fear, guilt, and loss. A life built on violence can never bring true happiness. A life built on lies can never bring true freedom. And a life built on fear can never create real love. In the end, the story of a mafia boss is really a warning. It warns us that every choice has a consequence. It warns us that money cannot buy peace. It warns us that fear cannot replace respect. It warns us that revenge cannot heal a wounded heart. Most importantly, it reminds us that the greatest power a person can have is not the power to control others, but the power to control themselves. The deepest lesson is simple but meaningful. Choose character over pride, love over control, truth over silence, and forgiveness over revenge. No matter how dark a person's past may be, change is possible when they are willing to face the truth. But the longer someone waits, the higher the price becomes. A mafia boss may win the streets, defeat his enemies, and build an empire, but if he loses his soul, he has lost everything. True strength is not found in violence. True strength is found in responsibility, compassion, humility, and the courage to become better before it is too late.